But I'm starting to worry about money. Even though my business had been stable, even though we had had savings, that year, because he's not working, because of additional expenses, medical expenses, my savings started dwindling down, and I was not able to get out there. Like Craig says, marketing's everything. I wasn't marketing. I had a handful of clients that were my salvation, actually, but I was starting to get really stressed. Now, I work on money mindset. I work on mindset, period, but nothing was working for me. And when I saw how my kids and my family were all around my husband, it was all about my husband, and I'm over here in the corner going, hello, what about me, anybody? But you feel guilty even thinking that thought, don't you? Right? So I didn't say anything. And instead, I stuffed it. And I kept stuffing it, and I kept stuffing it. Well, eventually the thoughts, I can't do this. How am I going to bring in the money? I'm a loser. I mean, has anybody ever had the feeling that they're a loser? Okay? I felt so inadequate. I felt so alone, and I felt like there is no way that I'm going to pull this off. I got to take care of my husband 24/7 because we found out now he's got to do all these treatments, doctor visits. He needs me. He needs me. So one night, one of my family members, and I was confessing that I'm worried about money. And she actually went off on me. Where did it all go? What have you done with it? Look at the fancy area you're living in. And she started to really get down on me, and my heart was broken because this was one of my staunchest supporters. But in her fear, she started to shame me. And I took it on, and I felt guilty on top of alone. So that night, I felt so lost. And I was angry, and I wanted to scream, and I did. And I went in my room, and I just cried out to God, where the F are you? You know, I don't know if you've ever gotten to the place where you're so defeated and so discouraged and all hope is lost and you can't tell anybody about it, because my business is called Create Your Magnificent Life. No, it wasn't magnificent at that moment at all. And I felt like a fraud on top of everything else. So I went to bed that night totally beside myself. Didn't know what I was going to do. And you know what? We had a whopping $600 in the bank. That's it. I was so panicked, but I was beyond panic. I was a puddle. Well, 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear this. I hear the voice, get back to love, Marianne. And I, like, hypnotically got out of bed, like, what does that even mean? How am I not in love? Well, you know, when you're in fear, you're not in love. Because there's only fear and there's only love, right? So I got out of bed and I went to my morning chair and I sat there and I said, what does this mean? And before I knew it, I had this motion picture of my life flashing before me, starting when I was a baby and I had a very rare disease and they gave me till 18 months to live. And that was a miracle. I'm still here. But one by one, and I started writing this down, one thing after another just flowed out of my pen. And what God was doing for me was he was getting me back to truth. He was getting me back to truth. Am I a loser? Is that true? No. Am I all alone? No. Is it all up to me? No. I was believing lies. Lies is what gets you into a state of suffering. And that was a huge lesson for me. I knew it, but I didn't know it until that day in this way. I got out of fear, back into truth, and into love. And that started me all off on the rest of this journey. There is, one of my truths is this, and now this may not be your truth, but this is one of my truths. That God is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask, pray, imagine, or dream. Think, imagine, or dream. How? By the power at work in you. What I realized that day was the power at work in us is love. I can't look at you because I'll cry. Like Craig. Happy tears. The power at work in us is the power of love. When you're feeling in that state of love, don't you feel abundant? Don't you feel like you're limitless? Don't you feel like you can pretty much do anything? Like her? That's how I felt. After I had that time of getting back to love, that's what I felt. My hope was restored. My passion was reactivated. Gratitude just flooded my heart. I no longer felt alone. I felt so loved, so secure, and so hopeful for the future. It was amazing. And I had to have that because I didn't realize what was soon to come. My husband's treatments went well at first, but eventually what happened is he was completely depleted. He was shut down, severe hydration, seizures, pneumonia, multiple hospitalizations. I needed to know how to stay in a state of love. So what happened, before I go on, I want you to write this down. It's not our circumstances that create our suffering. It's what we think about them that does. Okay? That's something to ponder here. It's not our circumstances that create our suffering. It's what we think about them that does. And I'm going to show you later on a demonstration of why that's true. Okay, so I discovered that abundance was everywhere.